with what the Court of Appeal has decided in Enugu, what you asked me a question, though I didn't get the answer to that. What happens to the appeal that should be pending? They also, because I know they filed an appeal too at the Court of Appeal in Abuja.
Okay, his response was that since a court of coordinate jurisdiction has decided on the matter, then no other court would, say something otherwise.
That happens only when the issues before the both courts are on this, when it is the same issue that are before the both courts.
You but said when the issues are the same, and that is about defecting from one party to the other.
No, that is not. PDP never went to court. PDP did not go to court to say whether by the defection of the governor of Ebonyi State from PDP to APC, he should not be asked to leave office. That was not the contention of PDP in the Federal High Court. The contention of PDP was that as a party that sponsored a candidate, and the Constitution makes it clear that no other organization except a political party should fund the campaign of a candidate. PDP now says, having had that exclusive right from the Constitution to sponsor a candidate for an election, and we have done so, and the people have heard our manifesto and our message and have voted for us, what do we have any right if this victory of ours is taken from our party and donated to another party without our consent? And the court says, well, there is a wrong that has been done to you, and that there is you have a remedy. And the court granted a remedy. It is wrong for anybody to say that where there is a vacuum in the law, the court cannot say anything. It is not true. The court makes laws.
That judgment was given by a judge, mind you.
That's what I'm saying. And that once there is a vacuum in the law, what's that vacuum? The Constitution did not expressly say what happens to a governor or a president, a deputy governor or a vice president who defects from his party to another party. The Constitution did not make any express provisions for that. However, it makes provisions for senators, House of Representative members, and House of Assembly members. So, since it did not make any express provisions, the Constitution, I mean, it does not mean that when there is a wrong, a court gets there and says there is no provision and the court goes away. No, courts make laws. Courts make laws. What happens is after making laws, the parliament will now come and legislate on that and now pass it as a written law for that purpose. Now, but you cannot say that political parties have their jobs done with the moment a candidate is declared winner. If that is the case, the Constitution would not also have extended it for legislators, who the Constitution also says when they defect, they lose their office. Is it only party members that vote for legislators? No. The electorate, as the Honorable Commissioner put it, also vote for the legislators. So that is not true to say that once your job is done, once elections are over. So the essence is what is before the what went to the Court of Appeal in Enugu is totally different from what went to the Court of Appeal in Abuja. And note that the man who just left your studio was not the appellant in Enugu. He was the respondent. But if you see the way they are determining the storyline is going, it looked like they went to the Court of Appeal to ask for a relief. They did not go to the Court of Appeal. He was supposed to be the respondent in the Court of Appeal. Where they are the appellants is here in Abuja. But if you see the narrative, the way it came from him, it looked like he was the appellant that went to the Court of Appeal.
Let me just take your mind straight to that. Let's dissect that judgment a bit that came from the appeal court in Enugu. The judge went further to say that it's a three-man panel, commended the trial judge for rejecting the call by the appellant's lawyer to fill the lacuna in the Constitution by sacking Mr. Umahi and his deputy. And he goes further to say granting such prayer would have done incalculable damage in the rule of law and constitutionalism.
Now, people must get it correctly. The appellant in Enugu, who also was the plaintiff at the High Court in Ebonyi State, was the APC candidate in the 2019 governorship election.
Yes.
So he went to court to say, my lord, the man I contested with, who won that election, has defected from his party and joined my party. Since I was the candidate of the party in the last election, and the party should be in government now, remove that man and put me. That's the summary of what he went to court to say. If APC must be governor, I was the class candidate of the party. So remove that man and put me. indirectly, what that court has ruled is no, that the votes of PDP cannot be inherited by APC. That is the indirect implication of the judgment of the High Court of Ebonyi State and the Court of Appeal in Enugu, which is the contention of PDP at the Federal High Court Abuja, which APC and the governor is now challenging at the Court of Appeal in Abuja. So the Court of Appeal in Enugu has also confirmed that the votes of a political party cannot be inherited by another political party. Otherwise, the court would have said it's true. Once it is APC, who is the recorded candidate of APC, he should be the governor. But note that the matter in Enugu is, that matter from Ebonyi to Enugu, Nigeria should worry too much about it. That you are discussing about the defection of a man from PDP to APC, where there was a hearing already going on in Enugu, in Abuja. PDP was not joined, so the interest of PDP was not determined in Enugu. And you cannot stop the Court of Appeal Abuja from determining the interest of PDP, which is not before the Court of Appeal in Enugu. Also, INEC was not joined. You know why they did not join INEC? Because once you join INEC, people go to INEC regularly. Political parties, government, state governors have, particularly in this election period, have people who report to INEC periodically to check, is there any case against us? So once you join INEC, people will ordinarily, in the course of events, pick up that information. So they secretly filed this thing. And now you are expecting the court to direct INEC, which is not a party, to do anything. So, but because INEC is not a party, there is no directive to INEC here in that judgment, both from Ebonyi State, High Court, and the Court of Appeal in Enugu.
In other words, Tochukwu, this is far from over.
It is not over. What the court determined is totally correct. See, the position of the Court of Appeal in Enugu is correct. Because the two people are discussing something, and they said, and they just went to the Court of Appeal to ask, Court of Appeal, see what we discussed and agreed, is it correct? The court said, well, if that is what we agreed, it's okay. The court is not the duty of the court. Both parties, there was no contention in that place, in Ebonyi State High Court and the Court of Appeal.
Because
there's nothing to contend. Both parties are working together, yeah, yes. I'm surprised that the NBA has kept quiet till this point, and this thing is going like this. Because the governor of Ebonyi State, Dave Umahi, was a party in the suit that was filed in the Federal High Court 6 months before the one in Ebonyi State was filed. And hearing had been completed before that one in Ebonyi State was filed. It was the duty of the governor of Ebonyi State, Dave Umahi, and his deputy, who were parties in Abuja, to inform that Ebonyi State High Court that there is also another matter in Abuja determining the same issue, and hearing has been completed. That judge would have declined jurisdiction and said, okay, since there is a matter, but they did not say anything, and that matter is continuing. And the NBA has kept quiet. Strangely, if you remember during the Anambra State governorship election, there were similar issues about multiple suits that gave rise to contradictory judgments. And a clear look at the parties that have been, who have had petitions now filed against them, lawyers who have had petitions filed against them in the MB before the Legal Practitioner Disciplinary Committee, shows that it was it was on one side, painting it to look political. And the side that favors this same side that is doing this now is also being kept. So I'm now wondering, why is the NBA not talking about something like this? That a party before a court, hearing had been completed, goes to another court, starts and ends another process without doing the duty that it owes that court to inform it that there was another suit. And it keeps quiet. And it's going this way.
What is the danger in that, for Dave Umahi and his party? Because just like you said, something is wrong in this two, because the first thing that came to mind was that two courts of the same jurisdiction gave judgment on almost the same matter at about the same time. And of course, we know that they were appealed in Enugu, and now a judgment has also come out of that. How will that affect the outcome of the appeal here in Abuja?
The Court of Appeal here in Abuja has a totally different issue before it. The Court of Appeal will determine that issue at the appropriate time. The Court of Appeal will determine that issue. And the judgment of the Court of Appeal in Enugu will not have effect. It will not stop the Court of Appeal in Abuja because they are determining two different issues.
But there are also similar issues too. The issue of defecting from one party
to
the other.
No, PDP is not arguing defecting.
But
PDP is arguing.
But it's on that basis that they are asking
PDP is saying, does a political party that goes through the process, constitutional process, have a right over the votes cast, which the Supreme Court had held previously. You know, the Honorable Commissioner cited Atiku and AGF and Atiku, which was a 2006-2007 event.
So however, you conclude on this still with us in the studio, and we're taking a look at the judgment of the Court of Appeal in Enugu that upheld the decision of the federal High Court in Ebonyi, saying that Governor Dave Umahi cannot be removed from office because he defected. Now we're talking about two different cases, which has shown that this matter is far from over. So Tochukwu, you were giving us
the Honorable Commissioner referred to the case of Atiku Abubakar, AGF and Atiku Abubakar of 2006-2007 to prove as a case to show that if you defect from the executive, there is no punishment. Now, but the question PDP is asking is a question also that has been determined by the same Supreme Court. Why not overruling what it said in Atiku, that votes belong to the political party and not to the candidate? It determined that in the Falake issue that allowed Yaya Bello to become the governor. He did not contest in the election, but he inherited the votes of late Abubakar Audu. Also, just February, 2 months ago, there were elections in Abuja. APC derived benefits because INEC, knowing correctly too that Supreme Court has held that votes belong to political parties, declared in the Albaji local council election that APC had won. And there was APC, as at the time that declaration was being made, did not have a candidate. In Imo North senatorial election, December 5, 2020, December 5, 2020, that was the date of that election, yes. APC was declared winner of the Imo North senatorial election because as at that time, Supreme Court had not determined who the candidate was. So there was no candidate. But because everybody knew, there was no contention when it happened. There were no arguments by the politicians, by analysts, by lawyers, as per declaring of APC as the winner without a candidate, because it was settled law that political parties own the vote. So the political party has won. So political party come and determine who your candidate is. So it has been there for a very long time. Now the issue is this. How come all of a sudden we're now hearing from Ebonyi State that votes do no longer belong to political parties? That law has not changed. The Supreme Court has not changed that law. It is still standing there. So what PDP is saying is, Supreme Court, you have. So when I hear the commissioner says there was no basis, there was no authority, the authority is, there are a plethora of authorities where the Supreme Court has held that votes belong to political parties. I've talked about that of Falake and Yaya Bello. So to that extent, PDP says, Supreme Court, Federal High Court Abuja, the Supreme Court has held that these votes belong to us. Can somebody take it away from us without our consent, without our approval? And the court said, no, if it is yours, you must be the one to give approval. Otherwise, any person who takes what belongs to you without your consent has stolen what belongs to you. The court only retrieved it and returned it to the owner. That is why the court said, put it, INEC receive nomination, a name from PDP. Then he now says, because there is a vacuum. That's the wisdom of the judge. Because there is a vacuum. Because the law has not stated expressly what the consequence will be, but there is a right. And once there is a right, there must be a remedy.
Which contradicts
what the court now says.
Which contradicts what the appellate court is saying, that you can't, that the judge cannot feel a lacuna in the constitution.
No, the courts do it regularly.
Okay, Tochukwu, we'll come back to you. Let's get the commissioner in now to respond to what you have, your position on this issue. Commissioner, sir, you're still here with us. Oji Uchenna Oji, could you respond to Tochukwu? He says that the matter in the appeal court in Abuja is totally different from what is in Enugu, which has been decided in your favor.
I think my learned colleague, I think he's just appropriating and reprobating. In the first place, he said that the matter in the State High Court has the same substance with the one at the Federal High Court. And he would expect the even NBA to declare that it was an abuse of court process for the State High Court to go ahead over that matter pending in the Court of Appeal in the Federal High Court at that time. And now he's raising other arguments. Well, let me tell him that the issue of Faleke is a pre-election matter. Even the Court of Appeal sitting in Enugu dissected all the issues. we should appreciate the difference between pre-election, post-election matter. And the moment a governor is sworn in, the difference. Go to section 181, go to section 306, and see the difference. The moment the governor is sworn in, he steps in as a governor. And the contemplation is that he is the head of the executive. And the Constitution does provide that once you are the head of the executive, you have no issue about qualification, no issue of wrongful exclusion and all of that. You are a governor. And the only reasons why you will leave office, sorry, is as provided by the Constitution. One is resignation, death, or incapacity, or by impeachment. The provision is clear. So citing Faleke, it goes to show that any colleague does not appreciate the provision of the Constitution and the circumstances of the matter. Even the case of INEC versus the Umahi'S case, it is a pre-election, post-election matter, talking about inclusion of candidates. The governor of Ebonyi State is no longer a candidate. And the judgment of the Court of Appeal does extract all the issues, as it were. And so I want to tell him that we need to face the Constitution, to know what the Constitution says. The moment you're a governor, what are the circumstances that it can be removed? That is what the court is there to determine. And not when, raising the issue of exclusion of candidates, or when a candidate dies before election or dies before swearing in. Those provisions are contained in the Constitution. What can be done? And so I don't need to really dissipate energy talking with my learned colleague on this issue. The matter is very clear.
All right. Commissioner, sir, I do remember that the appeal court also says something about this immunity you're referring to in section 308. It says that, even though that immunity, shields the governors from unnecessary litigations when they have already been sworn in, but it doesn't also stop them from being, taken to court for this kind of suit, which is one of the judgment, the issues brought to the appeal court, which it also gave to the appellants. So if that is the case, the section you are citing does not stop the governor from being sued, and that means that even the appeal court in Abuja can also look at the issues before it.
Yeah, that's what the Court of Appeal has said, and I didn't talk about immunity. I didn't talk about immunity in this matter. The Appeal Court has said that, yes, for us to determine this matter, we have to waive the immunity, we have to remove it and determine the matter. And he has said that even though that the immunity is not applicable here, but that he holds that the governor cannot vacate office for the reasons of defection to another political party. And that is the crux of the matter. That is the issue in dispute. So it would have been the issue of jurisdiction if immunity was, the issue. But it's not the issue of jurisdiction now. And so the Court of Appeal has rightly decided that there is no recognition of defection under the Constitution in the case of governor, deputy, even president, vice president. That the Constitution aptly captured the issue of defection on the side of the legislature, whether the national, that is the National Assembly, and the state. And the Court of Appeal went ahead to say that the judiciary cannot make a law. And I heard my learned colleague saying that the judiciary can make a law. That is judicial radicalism. That's what the Court of Appeal said. For a judiciary to go into the voyage of making laws, you can only expound the law, not expand the law. You can explain the law. E-X-P-O-U-N-D, expound the law. You don't expand it. The duty of expanding the law belongs to the legislature.
Just before we let you go, okay, I was just going to put in the issue of if these two cases before both appeal courts in Enugu and that of Abuja are the same issues. But we have to go now at this point. Let's come back to the studio and ask Tochukwu. Tochukwu, your final comments. We have to go at this point.
Very quickly. They had always relied on Section 308 that the governor had already been sworn in. You can't take him to court. It is settled law 2, the Supreme Court had held that where the issue is an issue that will survive the tenure of the governor, you wait until he finishes office. If he steals money, there are no time limitations for crime. You wait, when he leaves office, you take him to court. But if it is an issue such as this one that PDP say, what is our right to that office? You waive the immunity of the governor and try the matter. So the issue of 308, they are no longer pushing it. Thank God the Court of Appeal also told them that Supreme Court had held that. Soon, they will also hear the other versions. Now, the issues are simple. When the Supreme Court said Amechi should be sworn in as governor, there was no law that says the candidate of a party that is not in power, that did not contest an election, should be sworn in as governor. What did the Supreme Court do? The Supreme Court made a law. They did not expound any law. There was no law to be expounded then. Supreme Court made a law. The legislature subsequently now said, okay, to cure this issue, if you don't participate in every section of the election, you cannot be declared governor. So when we say the courts make laws, and there is no argument about that. It's elementary, even in law school. We learn that even in the law school.
Okay,
we're going to have to leave it here.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we want to say a very big thank you to you both for finding time to join us as we took a look at the Court of Appeal judgment in Enugu that upheld the decision of the State High Court that the governor of Ebonyi State, Dave Umahi, and his deputy cannot be removed from office because they defected from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, to the APC. Everything we've discussed here today has shown that, well, this case is far from over just yet. But thank you, Commissioner of Information from Ebonyi State, Oji Uchenna Oji, for your time. Also, a big thank you to Chuku Ohazurike, who's a lawyer, who's helped us, shed some light on this issue. Thank you both, gentlemen.
All right, and that's the way we'll leave the discussion right here on Kakake for this beautiful Monday morning. We thank you so much for being a part of it, and we wish you a very lovely day out there. Please stay out of trouble. My name is Nkoli Omaudu.
Mine is Senami Ohiamokai. We'll see you again soon.